Okay, welcome to the second episode of Play It Smart. We'll be analyzing the gameplay of the second prep battle on Burning Sands. Welcome to the Lazon chat. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask, and either me or Web will reply. Webcall will be joining me at the end of the stream to comment on the deployment of both teams as well as the engagement between a few squads. And meanwhile, we're actually going to go through our bookmarks once again with a bunch of events that happened during the battle that I'll be commenting on. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to jump right into the deployment of both teams. Again, I do think that they practice their deployment quite a bit, and that's noticeable in how fast they get to the locations where they're going to form their defensive lines or offensive. There's a few squads that are actually moving into certain flanks within the city. Now this battle, it was quite interesting and quite from the start. So I'm gonna have APN deploying with a chopper and then a commander RP, and right from the start we have the heavy AT of APN taking down a VZ with a full squad, denying them their deployment. This has a big impact on how everything develops from this point on, and not to mention the amount of tickets. There is a possible discussion here in regards to if the AT should have taken down the AVZ with a full squad, or should have focused on the BMP, which is taking a position further away on the same street. In terms of tickets, it's quite similar. In terms of the advantage that it takes, it's probably best if you deny a full squad from deploying than taking down the APC, because you will have other chances to take down the APC later on. But this full squad being killed is it's actually going to impact their motivation, their focus for the rest of the round, and it gives perhaps the APN squads the opportunity to take a bit more ground from the start as well. Now, EMC Recon actually decided to deploy once again with a 4-man squad in the center of the city, so the most advanced position, not behind the lines but right in the corner of EMC's defensive perimeter, I would say, right on the front. And I do think that initially the idea was to try and take down some assets with the AA and with the hat, but they end up dying there. We have 3 of 4 already down, and the 4th eventually recovers the hat and takes it away, kind of saves the kit. The EMC Recon squad won't be using the hats for most of the rounds. They actually start with it, but I do believe that eventually it gets passed on to infantry squads to use, or perhaps it was available for whoever needed to use it, that could perhaps request it, maybe with the initially requesting the permission from the CEO. But overall, I don't see the kit being used effectively at all. Most of the times it's being used to engage APN tanks head on, so the AT gets killed before it probably even shoots at the tank. Now we're gonna switch to another situation here, which is APN actually deployed on the flank of EMC's defensive perimeter, and right on an area that EMC chose to build their FOB. They have a squad here. There's been some engagements already, and then there's another squad coming in to support, which is actually the squad that got killed initially. Now this APN squad, squad 4, actually stays here for a long period of time throughout the whole battle. They might get killed and return, and at one point even get supported with a second squad of APN. But the pressure on this point on EMC's defenses is quite regular throughout the round, keeping 1 or 2 squads busy in this area. And we actually have this squad being supported by mortars as well, taking down quite a few guys of EMC. Overall, the mortars, the APN mortars, I think they were alive for the whole round. They were never really countered that much. They were in a good position. APN mortars were actually countered by armor, and probably by enemy mortars as well. I'm gonna switch to the EMC Soko, the scout heli taken down, flying near the intersection. I believe that it was really scouting the area, perhaps trying to figure out where FOBs were, where AAs were, so that later on when the CAS spawns, they already have some information in which areas to avoid. But yeah, the chopper is taken down very early in the round, so somewhat wasted tickets. It's actually taken down by a vehicle. Now we have EMC Recon. They eventually divide into fire teams of 2, even though at some points they have 3 guys moving together. Now right here we have 2. They're trying to flank this fire base, but they get noticed right away, at least by one of the elements of this defensive squad, which actually just kind of YOLOs, goes alone, and it is able to kill both with the shotgun. I didn't see much movement from the rest of the guys in the squad, so I think he kind of took it upon himself to defend that flank alone, and is actually able to do so. Now what's gonna happen is that EMC Recon is gonna respawn and is gonna return to try and take down this FOB again, and they're gonna come from exactly the same point. But this time they're actually gonna be able to take down the FOB. with the specialist being the only one alive. So I'm thinking that they're probably noticed again, or at least the specialist of the defensive squad is looking in that general direction. Medic stays behind for a bit. MC recon specialist flanks. And what happens here is, I think again, the defending squad is just not fully aware. They kill the medic exactly almost in the same position where the recon squad was killed initially, but you have to expect that if you're spotting someone and killing someone right in front of you, it is possible that someone already passed and flanked, and I would think that that information would be passed through the defending squad, and someone would focus on behind their lines and on their fob, because I'm pretty sure they're aware that the guys that they're killing are enemy recon. But no one is actually focusing on the fob. There's actually a guy manning the AA, and this allows for EMC specialists to take down the fob, or at least place explosive on it, and get the guy on the AA, and then get a few more kills as well before he eventually gets killed by the AR. So he gets killed with the Saga. This is quite common. He really likes the Saga shotgun, and kills one with a grenade. And then a funny situation, these two specialists run into each other, but the recon actually wins with the Saga, and I'm not sure why, but he returns to an area where he's gonna get killed. After this engagement, he should have really moved out instead of moving back in, and he got killed by the AR. But we can see already that the armor was coming to support just in case if there were more of them. Now, it doesn't actually end here per se. So we have two elements of the MC recon that are down. Even though the specialist did a good job, got the fob and killed a few guys, just failed to exfil. And we have a third element of recon that is coming to revive. This is something that goes kind of beyond my understanding, because I always played and trained my guys not to rely on revives at all. You basically have to avoid dying at all costs, and if you die, then you're done. You lost tickets to the team already. Sure, reviving would mean one less ticket, but in most cases when you're trying to revive, you're gonna lose more tickets because the guy that's attempting to revive is also gonna die. That's what kind of happens here. Even though they revive, they do have the chance to move away, to heal elsewhere, just patch up, and then move out. But instead, they stay healing fully in that position, and there's already a guy on them trying to find them and kill them. So after completely healed, they move out, they're spotted, and they pretty much get flanked by the APN specialist, which takes one down with the shotgun once again, and the second one gets killed by a rifleman. So the whole recon squad, except for one guy that's God knows where spotting, I think the squad leader is doing some stationary spotting in the middle of the city, as far as I know. But these three elements of recon are down because of repeating the mistake that they did in the beginning of the Morrowind battle, with staying in position for way too long, and in this case risking with the revive, and even after they managed to successfully revive, staying in the same location. I do hope that eventually they stop doing this or repeating this mistake. But actually the revive mistake happens quite a lot throughout this round, also with APN Recon, with the multiple attempts to revive and dying due to those. Here we have the specialists just coming to verify if no revives are happening, if everyone is still there, the bodies. And yeah, at this point there's no more revives. Okay, we're gonna switch to the north here, where we have BMP2, which is gonna get countered by, I would say, the tank. Can't really say for sure if it was the CAS or the APN tank that damaged this APC, because we don't get a kill confirmation, we only see the crew bailing out. But I would say that it's probably the tank that takes down the BMP, and the crewmen jump out and move away to gather the kits. We also had the APN Heavy AT, which was placed in the northeast side of the map for a long period of time, trying to catch on possible armor flanking to the northeast. Not being very successful with that, because EMC armor is rather stationary on the northwest corner of the city. Okay, so the next thing is EMC Recon once again. This time one single element with a AA kit being dropped at the airport here. Now it gets dropped right at the airport by a chopper, calling a lot of attention, so APN is alerted right away of that deployment. And I do remember that he was even complaining that the supply, so the crate, was not in a good position. What I would focus on would really be the chopper, maybe during the initial part of the round, making the drop off the crate without deploying someone, so that if APN would go and try and find if someone got dropped at the airfield, no one was there, just a crate, hopefully well hidden, and then later on they could actually drop the guy with the AA kit, but not at the airfield itself or airport, but further east in the desert, where he could hide for a bit and then eventually move into the airport and ambush the helipads, which can actually, in this version still, resupply and repair the helicopters. Instead of ambushing there, he actually decides to move out to the west with the AA kit. I would think that if you take a AA kit, you're mostly focusing on taking down choppers. Not really that much going for the enemy mortars. Perhaps you're just trying to spot them to have your mortars engaged, counter mortar, but you can pretty sure that you can do that from the airfield without having to move to the middle of the desert in these rocks. Meanwhile, you have another element of recon, which is doing a huge flank through the desert to get to the intersection to go for the enemy mortars as well. It's quite risky. It's not very easy to counter the mortars here. I probably wouldn't even choose this objective as a recon guy in their team. So now we're gonna jump to CAS, and we'll go back to the recon in a bit. Now we have APN CAS that is trying to find EMC CAS, and there's an actual engagement. I don't think EMC CAS even noticed that the Apache was behind them or above them, and so APN basically takes down the enemy CAS and this provides APN with a huge advantage throughout the whole round, really, because this happens again with APN having superiority in terms of CAS, um, and that forces EMC armor to be even more defensive. You can see that they got the information and right away they run uh, to their safe areas, which is under the warehouses. They're gonna stay there for quite some time. So from time to time they come out and they risk it a bit, but they know that right now, since APN doesn't have any problems with lasing and hitting them, the best chance to keep the armor alive is either be inside the warehouses or having AAs right next to them, which eventually they'll use. Now we go back to the recon. So the AA is still in the same location, and we have the combat Angie arriving here. Now, by this time, the mortars are already aware of the combat Angie, and they're passing the information to the armor. The armor squad is gonna actually take care of the enemy recon. We have this Landy, which already checked the airfield or airport to make sure that there was no one there, and then they come to try and find the AA. They get the AA, and the tank actually kills the combat Angie. So both elements of recon here getting killed. It's really a waste. I think it's very easy to hide in the airport. It wouldn't be really easy to find where this guy with AA is hiding. There's so many nice spots to hide, and who knows, maybe you would actually get enemy CAS or another chopper eventually, just by ambushing there, and you could provide information on armor movements, because from time to time they need to go resupply RTB for repairs or to resupply armor. So a spotter here, a stationary spotter with AA, wouldn't be a bad thing. Way better than having this recon squad operating as normal infantry for the majority of the rest of the round. Okay, now we're gonna have APN CAS taking care of enemy AA vehicle, which is right here. It's lased by the spotter. One thing that I don't understand is after the AA is taken down, there doesn't seem to be a laze right after the round hits the AA and the kill is confirmed. It should give the time for the CAS to engage other targets from a different angle before they actually move out, because now, as you can see, the armor knows that the AA is down. They're looking for the spotter. They actually managed to spot him and eventually kill him. It's true that there's another AA, there's a deployable AA here that they can use for cover against the CAS, but from a different approach, this armor could have been lased and engaged by the CAS from the southwest. So the spotter is killed, and eventually the armor will move to safety again, either close to the AA or inside the warehouses. Now, APN Recon in this situation, actually, they have a squad leader which could very easily spot the armor and have the CAS engage it. But at this moment, they're not really focused on that. They're focused on building FOBs behind the lines, which eventually will come in handy. But it's quite disappointing that their squad leader is the one that's doing this. I mean, he builds this FOB, which is a very nice FOB, and eventually it's going to be very useful. So he builds this FOB and places the AA and mans the AA when he could just use his other guys to do that. And right now he places the fob, and he's the one actually that's gonna place it and build it when is more needed as the spotter. Instead of having these two spotters here that can't do much except pass information, they can't really laze the enemy tank. Instead of having these two and perhaps having this build the fob and then move and get enemy fobs, because there are fobs very close by that they could deal with and that they don't. These fobs actually end up being dealt by normal infantry squads, so they stay there for way longer than what they should. But yeah, the squad leader is not the one that's spotting and lasing. Instead, is the one doing the grunt work, really, in building the fobs and manning stuff. So I would say a bit of a lost opportunity here. But at the same time, these spotters are doing somewhat a good job. They're actually giving the information of where the armor is, and we do see that happening. They're spotting this tank, and this tank is engaging APN infantry, and there's a coordination between that infantry and the APN tank that knows that EMC armor is busy shooting at infantry, so APN tank moves forward and engages, and we know that the MC tank is hit because it's calling for repairs right after this engagement. There's this guy on the fob that's picking up the Logi, and the tank moves into the warehouse, into safety, and the Logi is gonna go there to help with the repairs. Meanwhile, this gives the opportunity for the APN tank to move to the north, so it doesn't get hit. It doesn't get hit. He actually managed to flank a bit and use this opportunity, since he knows that the enemy tank is damaged. Use this opportunity to actually support his infantry and engage the enemy infantry at the power plant here, or industrial. So overall, nice coordination between the recon spotters and the armor, and as well the infantry squad that's actually being engaged by the enemy armor, and you know, calling the attention of the tank so that their tank can engage. Okay. So he was smoking bad before he retreated for repairs. The enemy tank. It is noticeable when you have the Logi coming right after to repair. Okay, so after this small engagement between tanks, there's actually, I don't think, ever a situation where a tank takes down a tank. Tanks of both teams stay alive for the whole round. There's only a trade of shots, so to say, on occasion. So next thing is we have the APN Panther over here, which is actually gonna get killed by mortars. So I suspect that this squad, squad 4 from EMC, calls in the mortars right on the Panther, and there we go. And I guess also to confirm the infantry kills that are around it. I'm sure they spread the rounds a bit. The Panther was actually quite effective. Was used by a normal infantry squad as a support element. It was very effective throughout the round, even if it was taken down maybe at least 2 times. Okay, so here we have APN tank moving into the industrial area. It has the information where the enemy armor is. The enemy armor actually knows about it somehow, I guess, because infantry heard the tank. So what happens here, again, we can't really see it, but the APN tank actually takes down the APC, the BMP. We know only because the APC is probably hit, retreats, and then eventually the crew jumps out and the vehicle is destroyed. So again, good coordination of the armor with the recon spotters. I do think that perhaps APN tank might have been hit by the enemy tank while doing so. Not completely sure about that because he's engaging two targets. He's also aware of a third target that's here. I think that's why he takes right away the flank, just in case he gets flanked by the enemy BMP or even by the enemy tank. Now there's gonna be a very funny situation. Wait. So we have APN's armor up north taking down a BMP on this 3-vehicle convoy that moved here on the Echo 1. Then the enemy CAS comes along with APN CAS not that far away. Not sure what happens. They probably attempt to engage but have no lays. I don't know. And then they stop right about the area of their convoy, and EMC CAS actually gets shot down by APN tank. Very interesting. I would think that in most situations in a PRT battle, the CAS is going to be taken down by either the enemy CAS or by AA. But that wasn't really the case in this battle. Only the first time is the EMC CAS taken down by APN CAS. This time it's by a tank, and we're gonna see a third time where it's taken down by something else. Okay, now we're gonna go back a bit to see another interesting situation, which is after the APN tank retreated after killing the BMP. There's still a BMP that's right here, just stationary. I was actually watching this live and thinking this APC is in this position for a reason. And what came to mind right away was is probably on a bump in the terrain or a ditch, trying to get a higher angle at the air so that you can try and hit the enemy CAS. That was my thought. And a bit after that is this happening. So we have APN CAS coming to engage the BMP, which I'll think would be, you know, lazy because there's a spotter here. But the CAS actually gets hit and has to do an emergency landing in the middle of the desert, asking for repairs. It's actually on fire. There's a logic truck coming to help with the repairs. Not the best of ideas right away because the logi is not able to repair due to buggy repair station. But they realize that, and right away they get combat NG kits to repair the CAS. They're also manning the AA just in case, because we can see the EMC CAS is up. So that actually just respawned recently. So we have 2 combat NGs repairing the CAS in the middle of the desert. amazing. Just the type of thing that you wouldn't usually see anywhere, uh, except for such a well-organized event like a PRT battle, and how fast this type of support arrives with the cast calling for help right away and landing where it knows that there's a fob with probably either a Logi or someone that can get the combat agent and support. And there we go. The pilot actually returns from the AA to get on his repair chopper and flies away to safety. um, so APN actually does not lose the cast for the whole round due to this emergency repairs in the middle of the desert, which would be the one situation where they were very close to losing it. Okay, so let's see what's next. Okay, we have a situation here where we have once again a convoy with 3 vehicles coming from main, so tank, APC, and AA, and a complete missed opportunity by APN, CAS, and Recon. There's Recon spotting with AT, so we have a spotter here of squad 7 trying to laze. He gets killed, spotted by I'm guessing with thermals. Now I'm actually gonna pause and look at this a little bit closer. Now when the vehicles are coming from north on the western side of the AT, is actually not on the main group of stones, a big group of stones, is on a smaller one. Personally, what I would do is rotate around the big stones when the convoy is passing by. So if the convoy is on the west, then I'm on the east of the rocks, and I'm adjusting my position based on their position in relation to me. And I would focus on taking down the AA, because that's the priority. I'm thinking that's why the CAS actually does not engage this convoy, is because the spotter knows there's a vehicle in the area. He's not able to actually laze that vehicle, and so the CAS decides not to risk it. If the AT was able to take down the AA, then the other vehicles would be easy to hit. Even without a laze, as long as the CAS knows about their location, which is I'm sure they knew about it, then they could probably take down the whole convoy. Unfortunately, that's not what really happens. The spotter gets killed. The vehicle is not taken down by the hat, which is actually focusing on taking down the BMP3, and he is gonna end up getting killed because they know that there's recon in the area. They just killed a spotter, so they're still looking back. And when the AT tries to hit it, that's when he gets killed. Again, he should have rotated a little bit sooner, and at least would be able to kill the back vehicle. And the CAS is not able to do anything after this point. So a lost opportunity that would have been very good, taking down 3 vehicles in one go. Just bad decisions and bad coordination here. Okay, so next is the return of the AT. After this, the AA stays up in the northwest side of this crossroads, and the tank and the APC, the BMP3, actually position themselves quite often here on the main road, covering the main road under the bridge. But this time, the heavy AT, which respawned on this fob, EMC didn't know about this fob until later in the game. So Recon is just able to respawn here and take a position again. And they do so, and they take down the APC. So the AT here kind of redeems himself with not getting the APC or the A on that previous situation, but actually does it now. Um, After this, we have APN Recon, which was trying to sneak up on the AA, and it gets killed. The specialist gets killed by the crew, and the vehicle moves away a little bit. What does the recon squad does? Goes for the revive. um, very risky situation here. Why would you go and try and revive uh, this specialist in the middle of the desert where the vehicle is still there? The AT is not able to take the shot, doesn't have a visual. I guess the AA is in a low spot in the desert. So he tries to go for the revive, goes for the revive, and then the guy that just got revived gets killed again, and eventually the medic gets killed as well by uh, the driver, I suspect, of the AA. So again, a waste of tickets with attempting to revive. Now the AT gets killed by the BMP2, which is returning. So it's the same crew of the APC that just got killed. They get a new vehicle. They return. They already expect that the hat's going to be here. They just got killed by it from this location, from behind them. So they, of course, expect that it's here, and they're being very careful in looking that general direction. Of course, they also have the information from the vehicle. So hat is down. One of the recon guys respawns with a LAT, which could have been used in a much better way throughout the round. Now, the APC, after killing the hat, makes the mistake, in my opinion, of returning to the same location where it initially died. I mean, you should know that even though you killed the hat, there might be someone else to get the kit and shoot at you. I'm guessing that they're probably looking back as well, and they just turn, they kill the light AT. And then I'm sure they're suspicious. Why so much movement in the industrial? So they decide to move in. They actually kill the medic that's trying to revive the heavy AT. Here, the priority is to get the heavy AT kit into safety and try to use it. But the attempt to revive is just gonna get the whole squad killed. So the fob is found by the BMP. It's taken down. The squad actually has a AA now, and is gonna go try and revive. Gets the medikit, tries to revive the head instead of taking the kit, and he's down. I do understand if you have a guy that's good with the heavy AT on your squad and you want him to be up and do the shot, but everyone in a recon squad should be able to take the shot. Everyone should be able to be effective with the heavy AT. And here the APC takes down the last guy, which is not part of recon, but is the spotter for Cass, with spotting him in the window of the barn at a very long shot, similar to the one that was done by this same APC at the AT in industrial. So a big list of bad decisions here by the recon squad. I do believe that they could have taken down this APC again if they weren't constantly going for the damn revives. Now we have the Panther, which is supporting the infantry north of the lake, and is taken down by the MC armor. I do think that these are the only situations where APN loses its Panther. And the armor overall, I would say, barely moved from its AOR, so to say, especially in EMC's team. APN actually does make a flank through the south, wants to take down an APC, and flanks to the north to counter this convoy that's coming through the north. So it moves a bit more through the map, while EMC armor is always on the western side of the city until the very end, west northwest side. Now, eventually, EMC is running out of tickets. They're very low on tickets, and they decide to really YOLO. Try to take down as many vehicles and infantry as possible until the end of the round. So we have, at the end of the round, the EMC CAS taking down the AAV. I'm not sure how that shot happens. Did not notice anyone that could laze. So it was probably just general information, and they get it. The APC moves in, the tank moves in, and they do get a few kills. It's actually let me pause. From the moment that they decide to go all in and just drive into the city without being afraid of actually being taken down, they do a lot of damage with their vehicles and with their infantry as well. There's quite a few APN squads that are forced to fully respawn, losing quite a few tickets. But then again, APN has so many tickets to spare in comparison that it doesn't really make a difference in the end. Now, right after the EMC CAS takes down this AA, it retreats. We're actually gonna see that again. So goes for the AA, gets the AA with a long shot, and then flies back to the west into supposedly safety. And meanwhile, the Recon AT is recovering his kit. There we go. He found his kit. He sees the enemy CAS just hovering in midair and takes the shot. And this is the last shot of the battle. It's the last 2 tickets of EMC being taken down here. So quite funny enough. This round starts with APN's Heavy AT taking down a full squad on a UAZ, and it ends with the same guy with the Heavy AT taking down the enemy CAS, ending the round with that shot. Overall, very interesting round with lots of funny situations, like the EMC CAS being taken down by a tank and then by the AT, with APN CAS being repaired in the middle of the desert, and other funny situations that we went through. So I think overall it was a very enjoyable round for both teams as well. Maybe not as much for for a few of the crewmen or pilots, but in terms of infantry overall, I think it was quite balanced in the city. There was a constant engagement between squads, between these 2 lines, that stayed almost the same from the beginning until the end. But in terms of normal infantry and the actual deployment for of this infantry on this map, I'm not the best guy to comment on that. So we're actually gonna have a guest web call squad leader from APN joining us, and he will be commenting on the general deployment of both teams at the start of the round, as well as a few engagements between the infantry squads.
Sound resumed. Microphone activated.
Hey, Web.
Hello.
Yeah, well, welcome. So,
Thanks for having me.
you're welcome. I'm gonna put replay back on its start, and just let you comment on the deployments and on the engagements. So
Yeah, okay.
okay, there you go.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, much of the success of this battle in terms of APN was very much founded on the deployment and the, I don't want to say lucky, but good start we had. Soban and his god tier hat skills taking out a full squad, a full infantry squad in a UAZ. And as O'Neill's pointed out, the EMC recon squad deploying quite forwards in a very southerly position, almost like an infantry squad, and being wiped essentially and pushed off that, and not having the use of it for the rest of the game really at all. And I think those two different outcomes really messed up this game for EMC quite a lot. I mean, the whole just having a full squad taken out like that on deployment, that's not a good feeling. That's that's not what you want at all. And if that sort of information gets around to the rest of the team, that can really affect how people are playing and how they're thinking about the game. And especially it can affect that particular squad. If it's your squad, you've just been taken out like that on your deployment, you're not feeling good about the rest of your game. And I think you can really see that if you follow that EMC Squad 4. When you also picked up on the fights to the north around the kind of factory processing area, and that squad that gets wiped by the hat goes up there, and they have a little bit of backup. They have the other EMC squad there against one APN squad, and somehow they don't have a good time. They kind of get wiped almost again, and they have to fall back. And I think a lot of that comes from that kind of mentality on the start of the game there, and just how such a poor start can affect how you play for the rest of the game. I also kind of want to pick up on the positioning of the relative squads and why they went where they did, and why it worked out for some squads and why it didn't work out for others. If you think about Burning Sands in terms of the design of the map, I would say if you, for instance, contrast it with Mutra, you think about the positions on Mutra, you think about your crooked Ds and your double Ds, and you think those are some pretty strong positions. You look at the crooked T in Mutra, it's got height, so it's defensible. It's got really good sightlines all over the place. So you've got a lot of control over that area, and in at least one of those layers, it's in a flag cap radius. So you're also controlling the game and the flow of the game and the actual flag and the capture of that flag. That's a hugely powerful position, that crooked T building, one on Mutra. Now, if you think about Burning Sands, is there an equivalent position? Not really. There's no, 5-6 story T building. There isn't a very strong defensible position that also controls a large area, that also sits in a cap radius. There isn't any kind of equivalent. And so if you look at the squads and the way we
Microphone activated.
so on APN, you notice that all of these squads are kind of almost a link in a chain. You have the squads fighting to the north, that's squad 5, and their southern flank is being protected by squad, and there another squad's flank, and so on and so on and so on. So even though there isn't a strong position in and of itself, a squad can fortify and garrison and just control an area. They don't necessarily need that if you have all these links in the chain one another. And I think that's what we as APN did. That's what we as APN did, and I think it worked out really well. You again contrast that with what EMC had. You kind of have a lot of weight almost. You have squads that are sitting quite far back and that aren't really engaging anything, which isn't particularly the case on APN. Every squad is able to fight something, every squad has something to shoot at. Every squad is able to justify existence, if you like. Because if you're not sitting in a cap radius, if you're not shooting at something, then what are you doing? You're just dead weight for your team. And there's a lot of positions on EMC that aren't really doing that much. Versus if you look at EMC Squad 4, it's a Kiba squad per Kiba. Per sitting in those central T buildings, getting picked apart by every single squad. He has no one to support him. He has no links in his chain, no one to back him up. He's just kind of taking the brunt of the APN offensive, and I think we got a lot of tickets there. I think those kind of engagements really forged us ahead and brought the game home for us, I would say. So yeah, that's my kind of two main points. How a deployment really sets the tone for the rest of the game, how it can affect the mentality of your team, of a squad, even an individual, and how that can affect the game, and just how to play to a map's strengths and its weaknesses even, and think about your positioning in that sort of way. And I think we got a bit lucky, but we on APN also, set up for a win, and we got it. And I think that's all I have to say on the matter.
Thanks, Webb. Appreciate the commenting on the infantry engagements. You were lagging a little bit, but I think most of it was understandable. And completely understood that their squads were constantly being pressured, and you were taking a lot of tickets out of the positions that their squads were attempting to defend. Do you think that the locations where they ended up deploying their squads were where they initially planned to deploy, or were those locations kind of secondary because of not being able to deploy where they initially wanted?
Well, that's an interesting question, isn't it? It's quite difficult to say without having someone with insider knowledge here, I suppose. But
yeah.
I imagine that those two kind of key things that went wrong really messed up their deployment, and I would suspect that there's positions they wanted that they didn't end up having. Like, it's interesting when you talk about as well that recon squad that was deployed, and you talked about that right at the start, and you kind of have to ask yourself, what was the purpose there? Was that just to get a snipe on a tank or an APC, or get a chopper down with the A kit, or was that supposed to be occupied and held for the rest of the game?
Yeah, I wouldn't think that the recon squad would be placed to protect an area for the whole round, but then again, EMC Recon hasn't been operating as a recon squad at all since the beginning of the campaign. So I'd be open to really anything from EMC team in how they use that squad. I do think they're more of a QRF unit than recon.
Right.
So they need to be used in that way because they're good at it. Sure, they're somewhat good at it, but if they're being stretched between doing recon and doing QRF, the problem is the mentality that you have when you go into the game. You can't really very easily switch from being sneaky and not trying to engage anyone, not being spotted, to being into full engagements right away. You're gonna suck at either one or both because you can
Right, that's difficult
adapt.
when you're splitting your focus.
Yeah. The other thing is from what I noticed is that the squad that was killed in the beginning in the OAZ, I do think that they were being deployed exactly in the center, in the center T buildings. So they actually wanted two squads side by side taking two different T buildings in that general area. So it didn't stop a certain area from being covered per se, but it just reduced the amount of bodies on the ground. And as you said, the morale of that squad throughout the rest of the round was probably affected by it. One thing that I don't think they were expecting it at all was the not just certain parts of your deployment and how fast one of your squads pressured their squads on that pump station area, but mostly the use of the commander rally point. It's such an awesome tool. Doesn't get used very often, but when it does, and when it's used properly, as it was in this round, it pays off. And I do think that the result of the UAZ being taken down and other things here, with the fast deployment of certain squads in certain points of pressure, resulted very, very well. The result was very good.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you brought up the commander rally there. Commander rally is an awkward tool, I want to say. It's difficult to use offensively. It's kind of becomes the linchpin of your strategy, right? You send a squad in your helicopter, and you expect the commander rally, and you have, like we did, we had two squads waiting to spawn on that commander rally. If that rally doesn't go down, or isn't able to go down, your entire deployment is completely messed up, and that is a risky play at times. So it's a bit awkward making it the linchpin of your strategy, but it worked out for us here. It worked out really well, and I think, like you say, they weren't expecting it at all.
Indeed, it is a very risky move, but it pays out when done correctly, and then when I guess you do need quite a bit of luck as well in that regard. But it is mostly used as a deployment tool. I rarely see it as a mid-round type of thing. I mean, we have our commanders in the PRT battles not using the UAV as a general agreement between the teams. So this actually gives the opportunity for the commander to move through the map quite a bit more as a supportive role in a truck, logistics truck, or actually sneaking around as a spotter at the same time that he's dealing with comms, as long as it's in a somewhat safer or neutral area of the map. But I do think that the commander being more available on the ground would allow for commander RP to be placed when, for example, you lose some of your fobs, or and you want your squads to respawn really quickly and not having to wait for fob to be completely built. I would think that it would be a good tool for those situations as well. But I've never actually seen it being used in that way. Do you think that it would be effective in that way?
Well, I have some experience of using the commander rally in that sort of fashion. I did that a bit on MRF last campaign. It can work. I mean, what you have to think about is you have to pull a full squad for a start off of whatever it is that they're doing, and you probably have to pull them some distance as well. Because if you want this to be, if you want the commander round to be there for any length of time, you're going to need to position it quite particularly. So maybe you have to drag a squad off their defensive duties a few hundred meters, plop the rally down, and then they head back. And that's not something you can do just on a whim. So it's a bit awkward in that sense also. And then, like I say, you have to be very particular with where you place it, because one random recon guy or anyone just kind of wandering through the area and it's gone, and you have to get that squad off of whatever they're doing again and drag them off somewhere else and put another one down. So it isn't the most useful tool ever, but it is something you can bring out, maybe in a pinch if you need it, or maybe if the stars align and you get people where you need them at the right time, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I understand it's even more risky because when you're actually deploying on the start of the round, you know that most of the map doesn't have anyone yet. So
Right.
the risk is somewhat controlled. When you're trying to do it mid-round, you don't know where anyone can be, really. They can be everywhere. But there are occasions where you might not have the fob on a defensive perimeter, and you do have some support units, at least in the structure of APN, that could very well meet up with the commander real quick and do it. You have a few small units that could support in that way. And what I was actually thinking of was that I noticed closer to the end of the round that you actually had normal infantry squad spawning on the fob at Industrial on the west, the fob that was placed by the recon squad. So they're coming from a completely different angle that EMC is probably not expecting because they're not aware of that fob. And I think in the same way that fob was built there, which requires logistics, which calls a lot of attention. Having the recon squad, perhaps another support squad, and the commander would give the same opportunity at least once for one or two squads to spawn on a weird location, a weird angle, and attack from there. So do you think that the commander would be able to think that a bit ahead and hold the respawn of a full squad that just got killed, for example, and use that type of tactic?
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Like I say, it's kind of one of those things where maybe the stars have to align a little bit in your favor. But yeah, I mean, if you have your recon squad together, probably recon squad plus, I don't know, your logistics maybe or something to get the number of guys you need to place it. Yeah, that could definitely work out. It's a cute little trick that maybe we'll see that now that we've mentioned it. Maybe someone will pick up on that and try it out. Certainly not out with the realms of possibility.
Yeah, it really depends on map characteristics. In Burning Sands, the action is concentrated in the city. You have other areas around it, but they're not really that used except for the ones that are close to the city. But in other maps where the action is further spread, and where are areas that are kind of in the flanks, but that don't get used by the enemy team, it opens that opportunity. And I think here the Industrial was kind of like that, to be honest, because you didn't see EMC going there at all except for the APC that ends up taking down the fob. It was, I believe, a mistake from their part in not having, for example, recon going through it at some point, and making sure that that flank was safe, and making sure that armor wasn't APN armor wasn't flanking through that side and trying to come behind the EMC armor. The only time that they actually did that, they came very close to the city, so it was quite easy to hear the tank and give out that information. But if they had moved further to the south and coming from the southwest, only someone actually placed in the Industrial would notice it sooner, or at least in time. Okay, so we're gonna have our tips and tricks part of this episode being streamed on the next Friday. It's actually, from this point on, it's being divided into 2 streams. Just makes it easier for me, and I think for you as well, not to go through a stream of 2 hours. Instead, go through a stream of 1 hour and a little bit more. So thank you for everyone that joined us tonight on Twitch. The video, the stream will be highlighted on Twitch if anyone wants to watch it later, and it will also be uploaded to YouTube, where we'll add a few things, like correct a few mistakes that we might have said, and also do the description with the timings for the bookmarks that were commented on. That way it's easier for you to just go directly to a specific bookmark that you'd like to review. So thanks again, and we'll see you next Friday.
Later.
Thanks, Rob.